The night was cold, the moon blood-red, and the mansion on Black Hollow Hill stood waiting, silent but not empty. When three thieves crept in, all they wanted was the legendary gold buried by a dead prospector. But the deeper they went, the more the walls whispered, the lights flickered, and the floorboards breathed. Then, the old miner appeared, face burned by candlelight, eyes hollow, holding his rusted pickaxe. He wasn't guarding gold, he was guarding revenge. And by dawn, only one would crawl out alive, clutching a treasure far darker than gold. Would you dare step into the mansion that doesn't forget the living? The town of Ash Hollow was the kind of place that seemed frozen in time. Cracked sidewalks, flickering street lamps, and an old saloon that still smelled of whiskey from 100 years ago. On the outskirts stood Black Hollow Hill, crowned by a decaying mansion that locals only whispered about. The Henderson Mansion, once owned by the eccentric gold prospector Elias Henderson, had been empty for decades. They said his ghost still wandered its halls, searching for the treasure he never got to spend. Every Halloween, teenagers dared each other to sneak past its rusted gates. Most never made it further than the porch before running back screaming, claiming to hear footsteps or see flickers of lamplight inside. But this year, three strangers weren't there for thrills. They were there for profit. Travis, the ringleader, was all swagger and bad decisions. He had charm, but the kind that faded when money got tight. One last score, he'd told his crew, Mara, his sharp-tongued girlfriend who could crack any lock, and Devin, a jittery ex-con who owed the wrong people. They'd heard the same rumor spreading around the internet, that Elias Henderson, the mad old prospector, hid bars of gold somewhere in his mansion before dying alone. The property was condemned, the security non-existent, and Halloween night was the perfect cover. As the trio huddled in their truck, fog rolled in thick as smoke. The mansion loomed above them, crooked and black against the blood-orange sky. Its windows looked like empty eye sockets. "Place looks like it's waiting for us," Mara muttered, rubbing her arms against the cold. "That's the point," Travis grinned, pulling his flashlight from the glove box. "Nobody'll come near this place tonight. Not even cops. We're ghosts already." Devin swallowed hard, glancing up at the mansion. "They say he still walks the halls, you know. Henderson, looking for anyone dumb enough to touch his gold." Travis laughed, low and sharp. "Then I guess we better be faster than ghosts." They stepped out, boots crunching over dead leaves and broken glass. The air was heavy, still but humming, like the world was holding its breath. At the gate, Mara's lockpick clicked in seconds. She smiled, satisfied. "See? Some things don't stay locked forever." As the rusted gate creaked open, the sound echoed down the hill like a warning. Inside, the mansion was a skeleton of its former self, wallpaper peeling like burnt skin, chandeliers hanging by threads, the scent of mold and dust choking the air. Each step they took stirred up tiny clouds of ash that shimmered in their flashlight beams. They moved through the grand foyer where portraits lined the walls, faded faces of men and women with hollow eyes. Elias Henderson's portrait dominated the room, a bearded man with one eye milky white, his grin disturbingly wide. Someone had scratched mine into the frame with a knife. Mara froze. "That's creepy as hell." Devin nodded, whispering, "People said he went mad before he died." "Said the gold cursed him." Travis waved a hand. "People say a lot of things. Let's find that safe." They split up, Travis checking the office, Mara exploring the library, and Devin heading toward the basement door. Each creak of the floorboards seemed to answer their movements, echoing longer than it should. In the library, Mara's flashlight caught something strange. Footprints in the dust. Fresh ones. Small, barefoot. She frowned, crouching to touch them. They were cold, damp, like someone had just walked through water. Down in the office, Travis found a journal sitting open on a desk, its pages warped and yellow. Scrawled across the last entry were the words, "The gold bleeds now. They came for it, but it's not theirs. It feeds when the moon turns red." He frowned, flipping the page, but it was blank. Devin, meanwhile, stood at the top of the basement stairs, frozen. The air down there was colder and thick with a metallic tang. His flashlight flickered, then died completely. From the darkness below came a sound like slow, dragging footsteps. "Travis?" he called. No answer. "Mara?" The footsteps stopped. Then a whisper, faint, breathless, almost childlike. "You shouldn't be here." Devin bolted back upstairs, his flashlight flickering back on as he ran. His hands shook as he found the others in the foyer. "There's something down there," he gasped. "I heard it." Travis snorted. "You probably heard rats." "No, man," Tuckett spoke. Mara's expression darkened. "Let's just find the gold and leave. This place gives me the creeps." They followed a trail of strange markings carved into the floor, crude circles with slashes through them, leading toward a hidden door behind the fireplace. Inside was a narrow staircase spiraling down into darkness. "Looks like our prospector had secrets." Travis smirked, flicking on his light. The deeper they descended, the colder it got. The walls dripped with condensation, and the smell of rust and rot grew stronger. At the bottom, they found a heavy iron door engraved with words half erased by time. "The mine doesn't close." Mara hesitated. "Travis, maybe we shouldn't—" But Travis was already turning the handle. The door groaned open, revealing a massive underground chamber lit by dozens of lanterns, though no one had lit them. At the center sat piles of gold bars, stacked high, gleaming beneath the red glow of the moon, filtering through cracks in the stone ceiling. Devin's jaw dropped. "Holy hell. It's real!" Travis stepped forward, his eyes wide with greed. "We did it," but as he reached out, his reflection in the gold shimmered, and then smiled back, though he hadn't. From the shadows, something began to move. A faint humming filled the room, growing louder until it sounded like a low growl. The temperature dropped again, breath visible in the air, and then a voice, hoarse and ancient, echoed through the cavern. "The gold is mine, and so are the hands that touch it." Mara gasped, spinning her light, and for a split second, she saw him. Elias Henderson, or what was left of him, half decayed, skin like leather, eyes burning faintly red, holding a rusted pickaxe. The lights flickered out, and somewhere in the dark, the gold began to bleed. The setup ends right as terror begins. The perfect point for your YouTube viewers to lean forward and keep watching. But what they didn't know was, the gold they came for was already alive. The moment the gold shimmered under the red-tinted moonlight, the chamber seemed to breathe. Dust motes swirled unnaturally, catching the glow like fireflies, but no wind stirred. Mara stepped closer, trembling, her fingertips brushing a gold bar, and felt it vibrate beneath her touch, like a heartbeat. "Did you feel that?" she whispered, stepping back. Travis laughed, but it was hollow. "It's gold. Of course it vibrates. You're imagining things." But Devin's flashlight flickered again, casting shadows across the cavern walls. Shapes moved in the darkness, tall, thin shadows that didn't match any of their forms. Then the voice came again, rasping, low, resonating through the stone walls. "The gold has a price." Mara froze. Travis frowned. "Okay, that's new. But who's talking?" Before anyone could answer, the lanterns ignited on their own. Their flames were blue at the base, fading into red tips. And there, at the far end of the chamber, stood Henderson's ghost, tall, skeletal, holding his pickaxe as though it were an extension of his arm. His eyes glowed brighter than any firelight, and the shadows behind him twisted unnaturally, forming clawed hands reaching toward the intruders. Travis stepped forward, fists clenched. "We're taking the gold. No ghost is stopping us," Henderson's grin widened. "I don't trade in threats. Only in lives." A gust of wind slammed the door behind them shut. The trio spun, banging on the iron with their fists, but it wouldn't budge. "Don't panic," Travis muttered, though sweat ran down his forehead. "It's just a trick. A show." But the floor beneath them groaned. Cracks appeared, spreading across the stone like veins. Blood-red liquid seeped from the gaps, pooling and moving toward them. Devin screamed, backing away. Mara grabbed his arm. "Run!" The gold bars rattled. Then, one by one, they began to float, hovering a few inches off the ground. A low metallic hum filled the chamber, vibrating through their bones. Henderson's voice boomed, "Choose wisely. Your greed brought you here. Your lives will pay the toll." The shadows surged. They weren't just shadows. They had shape. Hands, faces, mouths opening in silent screams. One reached for Travis, who barely ducked. Another clamped around Devin's leg, pulling him to the floor. Mara swung her flashlight like a weapon, striking the shadow, and it shrieked, evaporating into smoke. The trio bolted, dodging, grasping shadows. They ran past stacks of gold, past the glowing lanterns, trying doors, stairways, anything. But every path led them back to the central chamber, the ghost always ahead of them, waiting. And then the whispers began, dozens of voices echoing off the stone walls, speaking in unison. Trade. Trade your life for the gold, Mara screamed, clutching her head. I don't care about gold. I just want out. The gold bars shifted in response, forming a circle around them, spinning like a carousel of glowing red metal. The center of the circle was the ghost's pickaxe. It hovered, spinning slowly, dripping a liquid that smelled like iron and rot. Travis lunged for it. "We'll grab it and go." A blast of icy air knocked him back. His flashlight shattered. In the darkness, Henderson's form seemed to multiply. Dozens of ghostly miners surrounding them, all with pickaxes raised. Their eyes burned red, and from their mouths came a soft rattling, like chains dragging over stone. Devin whispered through trembling teeth, "It's endless." And then the price of greed became real. Mara screamed as one ghost lunged, passing through her body like smoke. Pain shot through her limbs, but when she looked down, no mark remained, yet her strength drained. She fell to her knees. Travis grabbed a gold bar, trying to shield himself. But it slipped from his hands, flying into the air like it had weightless intent. It landed at the ghost's feet and vanished into a puff of red mist. "The gold is mine," Henderson whispered, voice echoing from every wall. "And you?" "Are mine." Panic overtook rational thought. They tried doors, windows, even the fireplace. But each attempt led them back to the same chamber. The shadows slithered across walls and ceilings, whispering promises of wealth and curses of death. Time lost meaning. Hours could have passed, or minutes. The moon outside streaked across the red sky, its light casting uneven shadows that twisted like living snakes. Then the ghosts attacked in force, spectral pickaxes slicing through the air. Mara grabbed Travis's arm, pulling him toward a narrow tunnel partially hidden behind a fallen stack of gold. "This way!" she yelled. Devin hesitated. The floor beneath him cracked, sending splashes of blood-red liquid toward him. He jumped back, catching the edge of the tunnel and sliding down. The three tumbled into a lower chamber, a long-abandoned mining shaft, walls slick with decades of seeped minerals. Lanterns flickered faintly, illuminating old mining carts filled with rocks, but the ghosts followed. Their forms emerged from the darkness, appearing at the end of the tunnel, dozens of them now. Their movement was unnatural, gliding just above the floor. Trade! Devin's voice shook. "We can't fight them." "They're infinite!" Mara's mind raced. "We need a plan. Or they'll take us all." Travis clenched his fists. "The gold? We have to destroy it!" But the farther they moved, the more the gold seemed alive, growing, crawling along the floor, almost blocking their exit. The pickaxes clanged against stone, shadows danced along walls, every ghost a reminder that their greed had drawn attention, and the mansion wasn't letting them leave. Devin's scream echoed as a ghost passed through him, cold burning along his chest. Mara yanked him toward a side tunnel, almost dragging him. Travis fought to keep up, shouting directions over the chorus of ghostly voices. At last, they stumbled into a cavern where the largest pile of gold sat, nearly 20 feet high. Henderson hovered above it, his spectral grin wider than ever, pickaxe raised. His eyes seemed to pierce into their souls, reading their fears. "Make your final choice," he whispered. "Leave the gold, live, or take it and die." Travis's greed surged. "We'll take it," he shouted, stepping forward. Mara grabbed his arm. "Don't. It's not worth it." But it was too late. The gold began to float violently, surrounding them, spinning faster than they could run. The ghosts closed in, spectral hands reaching, pickaxes slicing, and a low growl vibrating from the very walls. A storm of red light and shadow engulfed the trio. Their screams echoed, bouncing endlessly through the cavern. The mansion seemed to pulse, alive, feeding on fear, greed, and blood. And in the distance, a whisper rose above the chaos. The gold always claims its due. The cavern shuddered as the floating gold spun violently, casting jagged red reflections across the walls. The trio's hearts pounded in unison, each beat echoing like a drum in the dead silence of Black Hollow Hill. Henderson hovered above the largest pile, spectral pickaxe raised, eyes ablaze like molten coals. Shadows rippled along the cavern walls, stretching, curling, twisting like serpents reaching for the intruders. The gold is mine. "And so are you!" the ghost hissed. Travis lunged, determined to grab a stack of bars. He reached out, fingertips brushing the smooth, glowing metal, and suddenly the gold exploded into a storm of red mist. It enveloped him, pressing against his skin, filling his lungs with a metallic tang so sharp it burned. He screamed, kicking, clawing at the fog, but it wouldn't let go. Mara grabbed him, pulling with all her strength. "Travis, stop!" "It's not just gold, it's alive." But Devin was already frozen, staring at a shadow detaching itself from the cavern wall. It moved with impossible speed, slamming into him and sending him sprawling into a stack of gold bars that shattered like glass, spilling coins that burned wherever they touched the floor. Henderson's laughter echoed, hollow and endless. "You chose greed over life." "Now pay!" The shadows surged like a wave, arms and faces forming a wall of darkness, advancing with unnatural precision. Each ghostly miner's pickaxe swung silently, appearing inches from their heads, missing by mere millimeters, only to strike somewhere else. The cavern seemed too small, yet infinite. Mara's mind raced. The walls themselves were alive. The floor breathed. The gold pulsed, thrumming with a heartbeat that matched Henderson's voice, a rhythm of vengeance, punishment, and hunger. "Trade your life for the gold." Travis struggled, struggling against the mist that burned his skin. His hands slipped on the glowing metal. One of the gold bars shot upward, hitting the ceiling with a deafening clang and splitting in half, revealing something inside. It was a tiny humanoid figure, transparent, screaming silently as it dissolved into the crimson haze. Mara's eyes widened. "It's been feeding on lives all along. Every thief, every greedy soul." Devin vomited, choking on the metallic taste in the air. We can't... Stop it!" Henderson's form expanded, taller, more terrifying, like molten rock fused with shadow. The cavern walls themselves seemed to curve around him, a living vessel for the prospector's wrath. "You should have left the gold," he growled. Suddenly, the pile of coins in the center of the cavern erupted, forming a glowing pathway leading to a narrow tunnel. Mara's mind snapped into clarity. "That's it! That's the exit!" Travis tried to run for it, still clutching some coins, but the mist lashed out, wrapping around his legs. He fell face first, screaming, as one of Henderson's spectral miners passed through him, and his scream faded, absorbed into the cavern. Devin hesitated, shaking uncontrollably. We can't leave him." Mara grabbed his arm, yanking him forward. "If we stop now, we're next." They bolted down the tunnel, the cavern echoing behind them with wails, crashes, and the clang of spectral pickaxes. "Trade your greed for your lives." Trade. The words became a chorus surrounding them, pressing into their minds. Mara's lungs burned. Devin's legs ached. Travis's voice was gone, swallowed by the cavern. At the tunnel's end, a trapdoor opened into the mansion's attic, faint moonlight spilling over old furniture and dust motes floating in the cold air. They collapsed, gasping, shaking, their eyes wide. For a moment, silence. Then, from the shadows behind the attic stairs, Henderson appeared, not fully corporeal, but more solid than before, eyes glowing, pickaxe in hand. The pulse of his presence made the floor tremble. "One final trade?" he whispered. Travis, delirious, grabbed a gold bar he had stashed in his jacket. "I'll trade it, take it." Henderson's eyes flickered, scanning the treasure. Then he turned his gaze toward Mara and Devin. His grin widened. Not enough. Greed always demands more. The attic air became heavier, almost solid. Shadows crawled along the walls, reaching, grasping. Mara pushed Devin forward, thinking fast. "Throw all the gold into the fire!" The fireplace, unused for decades, roared to life as they hurled the coins and bars into it. The flames burned unnaturally bright, red and blue, consuming metal as if it were paper. The cavern below shook violently, the sound of cracking stone echoing through the mansion. Henderson screamed, a sound that was both human and not, a raw, piercing shriek that split the night. The shadows around them writhed, some fleeing into the burning fireplace, others recoiling in pain. Mara and Devin ran toward the attic window. Henderson, now a whirlwind of fire, shadow, and rage, slammed the pickaxe against the floor. Planks splintered, beams cracked, dust choked the air. With a final push, they vaulted out the window onto the sloping roof. Below, the flames consumed the gold, and with it, the main source of Henderson's power. The ghost's form faltered, flickering, screaming, then dissolving into smoke that was swept away by the wind. They lay on the roof, panting, watching as the mansion's attic collapsed in a storm of fire and red-tinged smoke. Dawn was breaking. The first rays of sun touched the hill, warm, ordinary, and mercifully human. Travis didn't move. When Mara looked back, he was staring at nothing, lips trembling. The gold he had tried to hold onto was gone, and so was the ghost. But in that silence, Mara felt a chill. Somewhere deep within the ruins, the heartbeat of the mansion still pulsed faintly, like a memory. "Some treasures," she whispered to Devin, "aren't meant to be found." They walked down Black Hollow Hill, shaken but alive, leaving the mansion and the ghost's gold behind. They thought they could take the gold, but some treasures demand a price you can never pay. Who survived and who was claimed by the ghost? Dawn broke over Black Hollow Hill, casting pale light over the scorched remnants of the Henderson mansion. Smoke still rose from the ruins, curling like spectral fingers into the morning air. The town of Ash Hollow lay quiet, unaware of the horrors that had unfolded hours ago. Only 3 souls knew the truth, and only 2 would ever leave the hill entirely the same. Mara and Devin huddled at the bottom of the slope, still shaking, clothes torn and faces streaked with soot and sweat. They kept glancing back at the ruined mansion. Every shadow seemed alive, whispering, as if the remnants of Henderson's rage still lingered. Travis was silent. His eyes, once bright with greed and confidence, were hollow. He had survived the fire, but the ghostly touch of Henderson still haunted him. Occasionally his lips moved in a whisper, reciting something none could hear. He had glimpsed the ghost's gold one last time. In the fire, a glint had flickered, like a heartbeat, calling to him. Mara shook him gently. "We made it out, Travis. The gold, it's gone." He didn't respond, staring into the distance, as if part of him still lingered in that blood-streaked cavern. Devin swallowed, his throat dry. "I never want to see gold again," he muttered. "Or ghosts, or anything like that place." The 3 of them walked through the forest that edged Black Hollow Hill, where the fog lingered like a warning. The events of the night replayed in their minds. The floating gold, the whispers, Henderson's spectral grin, the pickaxe slicing through the air. Each memory felt like it burned a layer of their sanity. By midday, they reached the outskirts of Ash Hollow. Sunlight felt alien, soft, safe, ordinary. The horrors of the mansion seemed distant now, but none could forget the sensation of being hunted by something older than greed itself. Mara finally broke the silence. "We should tell someone, or do we just pretend this never happened?" Devin shook his head. "Who would believe us? They'd think we were drunk or lying, or worse, cursed." Travis remained silent, still staring at the hill. His hand twitched as though still reaching for gold. Days turned into weeks. Ash Hollow went on with its life, unaware of the mansion's fiery end. The mansion itself was gone, collapsed into rubble, smoke fading into the cold night air. But Mara and Devin couldn't forget. Nightmares haunted their sleep, flickers of red light and the hollow laugh of a ghostly prospector. Travis disappeared. Some claimed he ran away. Others whispered he had gone back for the gold Henderson had left behind. Greed too deep to ever let go. Mara feared he had become a part of the legend himself, a soul now trapped in the ruins with the ghost's eternal wrath. For Mara and Devin, life slowly returned to normal. But Halloween would never be the same. Every shadow, every flicker of red, reminded them of the mansion, the floating gold, and the spectral miner's warning: greed demands a price. Devin started avoiding shiny objects, even jewelry or coins. Mara refused to step near abandoned buildings. Their survival had come with a lesson burned into their bones. Some treasures are cursed, and curiosity has a cost beyond measure. Months later, Mara stood on a ridge overlooking Black Hollow Hill. The ruins were silent now, smoke long gone, but the morning light glinted off something in the distance, a faint shimmer, too fleeting to define. She shivered, gripping her coat tighter. She didn't speak the words aloud, but she knew the gold's call would never fully fade, and neither would Henderson's curse. Devin approached quietly, placing a hand on her shoulder. "We survived. That's all that matters." Mara nodded, though the echo of the cavern and the ghost's red eyes lingered in her mind. Survived. For now. And somewhere, deep beneath the hill, in the ruins of the mansion's cellar, the faint shimmer of gold pulsed faintly. A heartbeat in the dark, waiting for the next greedy soul to arrive. The ghost's gold was never treasure. It was a trap, a lesson, a warning. And as long as greed exists, the mansion's curse lives on.
They thought gold was their prize.
But some treasures come with a price too terrible to pay. Would you dare enter Henderson's mansion?